Welcome to the channel The Coin Hunter, and let me ask you this. What if the very coin you casually flipped onto a counter or tucked into a jar at home could secretly hold the power to change your life forever? Imagine grabbing a handful of quarters from your pocket, only to discover one so rare, so unexpected, that it could turn you into a multi-millionaire overnight. Sounds impossible, right? But that's exactly the kind of mystery we're diving into today, starting with one of the most jaw-dropping modern finds of all. The 2022 Wilma Mankiller Washington quarter, an ordinary-looking coin that carries an extraordinary secret. At first glance, it looks like any other quarter minted just a couple of years ago, but appearances, my friends, can be deceiving. This coin has stunned collectors, shocked historians, and ignited bidding wars at major auctions. And the kicker? One pristine, high-grade specimen of this quarter has been valued at a mind-blowing $17 million for a single coin you could have mistaken for loose change in your car. That's the kind of revelation that makes you rethink every coin you've ever casually spent. But hold tight, because not only will we uncover the secrets of this Wilma Mankiller quarter, I'll also be teasing you with glimpses of even more coins coming up next. Coins that could make this $17 million piece look small in comparison. So stick with me till the very end, because what's ahead will leave you absolutely floored. Now let's roll back a bit and set the stage. Who was Wilma Mankiller? And why is her face on a quarter? Wilma Mankiller was the first female chief of the Cherokee Nation, a trailblazer for women, Native Americans, and advocates of equality across the board. In 2022, the U.S. Mint began honoring prominent women in American history through the American Women Quarters program. One of these was Wilma Mankiller, a leader whose legacy deserved this historic recognition. Coins from this program were minted in Denver and Philadelphia, and millions were released into circulation. Most of them, they're just worth face value, 25 cents. But here's where the story takes a sharp turn. Because not every coin that comes off the presses is identical, and sometimes a tiny slip at the mint creates a rarity so spectacular, collectors will spend fortunes to own it. And with the Wilma Mankiller quarter, that's exactly what happened. Some of these coins were struck with off-center errors, where part of the design is missing. Others were produced with double dyes, meaning text or image looks like it has a shadowy duplicate. There are even rumors of planchet errors where the coin wasn't even struck on the right metal blank. Each one of these flaws transforms a basic coin into something magical. Because collectors, they live for imperfections. The more dramatic the rarer, the stranger the mistake, the higher the value skyrockets. And that's how we ended up with one Wilma Mankiller 2022 quarter being auctioned for $17 million. Let that sink in for a second. $17 million for a quarter. To put it into perspective, that's more than the cost of a private island, or a fleet of luxury cars, or enough to retire your family for generations. And all from a coin that most people still overlook. Picture this. You're emptying your change at the end of the day, and there it is, Wilma Mankiller staring back at you. Would you even pause to check the date, the mint mark, the strike quality? Most people wouldn't. And that's why so many of these hidden treasures slip right through unsuspecting hands. The secret is knowledge, knowing what to look for, how to spot the telltale signs of a rare error, and recognizing that what looks like pocket change might actually be a fortune. Now here's the thing. Coins like this don't just pop up in glass cases at museums. They're out there, in circulation, in old rolls of quarters, even in jars tucked away in basements and attics. That's why collectors and treasure hunters like us never stop searching. Because the next quarter you find could rewrite your destiny. And if a modern quarter from 2022 can command $17 million, imagine what lies ahead in the world of numismatics. I'll give you a taste. We've got coins coming up in this very video that make this $17 prize look like chump change. I won't spoil the values just yet, but trust me, you'll want to see every single one. Let's get back to the Wilma Mankiller though, because there's more to this story. High-grade condition plays a huge role in value. A quarter that's circulated with scratches and wear won't fetch nearly as much, but one that's graded by a top-tier agency, certified as flawless and preserved in near-perfect state, that's when the prices go nuclear. Some examples of this coin in lower grades might go for a few hundred or a few $1,000s. But when you combine the rarity of the error with immaculate condition, that's when we hit the multi-million-dollar jackpot. Collectors know this, investors know this, and that's why the bidding wars get so intense. At one auction, reports say the room went absolutely silent when this coin hit the block. The auctioneer started at $1 million, and hands flew up instantly. 2 million, 3 million, 5 million. It kept climbing. By the time it crossed 10 million, people were gasping. And when the hammer finally dropped at 17 million, history had been made. That's the magic of numismatics. The blend of history, chance, and sheer human obsession. And let's not forget the symbolism too. Wilma Mankiller fought her whole life for representation, for recognition, for equality. And now, her face on a coin has become one of the most valuable quarters in history. It's poetic, really. Her story lives on not only through her leadership, but through the literal currency of the nation. Every time someone discovers one of these coins, they're reminded of her legacy. And it's that combination of history and rarity that makes this piece irresistible to collectors. But here's where it gets even more exciting for you watching right now. Because these coins aren't myths locked away. They're real. And they're out there. You could stumble across one tomorrow, tucked into your change after buying a coffee. And if you did, would you recognize it? Would you know to hold onto it, protect it, and maybe send it for grading? That's why learning these stories matters. It sharpens your eyes, trains your instincts, and might just make you rich. And here's the wildest part. We're only just getting started. Because while this Wilma Mankiller quarter stands tall with its $17 price tag, the next coin we'll explore takes rarity and mystery to a whole new level. A coin that hides in plain sight, yet collectors whisper about it like a legend. One so surprising you'd never expect it to outshine the Wilma Mankiller. And yet, it does. I'm talking about another modern quarter, one featuring a Hollywood icon, whose story is just as fascinating as her portrait. But before we get there, let this sink in. $17 million. One quarter, one find. One life changed forever. And that's just one coin from the American Women Quarters series. Now imagine what else could be hiding in this groundbreaking program. Think about how many coins slip through fingers every single day. Unnoticed, unvalued, unappreciated. That's where your opportunity lies. Because knowledge is your treasure map. And if you thought this Wilma Mankiller 2022D was extraordinary, just wait until you hear about the next one, because the next coin story is even more unbelievable. And it's coming up right after this. Next 2022D, Anna May Wong Washington quarter. And let me start with this. Most people spend this coin without ever realizing it could buy them a luxury mansion, a yacht, or even change their entire future. Imagine sliding a quarter into a vending machine, completely unaware that the same coin could have been worth more than entire movie budgets. This is not fiction. It's not exaggeration. It's the shocking truth about one of the most unexpected treasures of modern coinage. The Anna May Wong 2022 Washington quarter, a coin so deceptively ordinary that it blends into circulation until you realize its extraordinary worth. And when I say extraordinary, I mean it. A single one of these coins has been valued at an astonishing $25 million. $25 million. For a coin most people still think is worth just 25 cents. Can you imagine that moment? Discovering something so powerful hiding in plain sight. That's why collectors lose their minds over this quarter, and why today we're unpacking everything about it. From its history, to the errors, to the insane collector demand that pushed it into multi-million-dollar territory. And as if that weren't enough, I'm also going to tease you with what's coming next, because yes, there are more coins ahead that make even this $25 million prize look small. So stay glued, because the deeper we go, the wilder this ride gets. First, who was Anna May Wong? She was the first Chinese-American Hollywood movie star. A trailblazer who broke barriers in an industry that often shut the door on her heritage. From silent films to sound pictures, she captivated audiences with her talent and elegance. And in 2022, the U.S. Mint honored her legacy by placing her on the Washington Quarter as part of the American Women Quarters program. Millions of these quarters were minted, and at first glance, they look like pocket change. But hidden among them are the rare, flawed, and error-struck examples that turn the ordinary into the extraordinary. Some quarters show double-die errors where Anna May Wong's name or image appears shadowed. Others have misstriped off-center designs or unusual planchets that make them instantly collectible. And then there are the few, the absolute rarest, that have been graded in pristine condition. Coins so flawless they could make a collector's heart stop. That's where the magic happens, because rarity plus condition equals value. And in this case, $25 million worth of value. Now picture the scene at auction. The lights dim, the crowd holds its breath, and the auctioneer raises the first bid. The numbers climb. 2 million, 5 million, 10 million. The energy is electric, with collectors from around the world fighting tooth and nail to claim ownership of history. At 15 million, the tension in the room is unbearable. At 20 million, whispers turn into gasps. And when the hammer falls at 25 million, history is written. A modern coin minted in Denver just a short time ago has achieved one of the highest valuations ever seen. That's not just a sale, that's a cultural moment. It's proof that coins aren't just metal. They're legends waiting to be discovered, and that's the wild part. You could literally find one of these in circulation. Imagine checking your change from a grocery store and spotting Anna May Wong's portrait. Would you spend it, toss it into a drawer, or would you take a closer look? Because that closer look could reveal the difference between 25 cents and $25 million. And isn't that thrilling? That possibility alone is why collectors can't stop hunting. The story of Anna May Wong's coin is about more than just money. It's about recognition, about breaking barriers, about honoring those who paved the way. She was overlooked in her time, but today her coin commands attention like no other. It's poetic justice, really. And it's not just about her story, but about yours too. Because at any moment, you could be the one who stumbles upon this coin and changes everything. Now let's pause for a second because I want you to think big picture. We've already talked about a Wilma Mankiller quarter worth $17 million. Now we've added Anna May Wong's quarter at $25 million. That's two modern coins, both minted recently, both technically still out there, that could completely alter your life. And yet, believe it or not, what's coming next is even bigger. You heard me right. The next coin in this lineup has a backstory and a value that overshadows even Anna May Wong's $25 million stunner. But before we rush there, let's dig just a bit deeper into why this quarter is so special. Part of the value comes from scarcity, of course, but another part comes from demand. Collectors love cultural icons. Anna May Wong represents more than Hollywood. She represents resilience, trailblazing, and history itself. Combine that with the allure of mint errors and high-grade perfection, and you've got a recipe for sky-high bidding wars. It's a storm of rarity, condition, history, and story all colliding into one perfect coin. And let's not forget, modern collectors are obsessed with the American Women Quarters program. They're scouring rolls of quarters, buying boxes straight from the banks, hoping to strike gold, or in this case, platinum-level rarity. And while most will only find face-value coins, a lucky few will stumble upon something life-changing. That's the thrill of the hunt. That's why this channel exists, to guide you, to prepare you, and to show you what's possible if you keep your eyes open. So let me ask, when was the last time you checked your change carefully? Did you glance over it, or did you really look? Because coins like these are waiting, and someone has to find them. Why not you? Just imagine holding a $25 million treasure in your palm, knowing that the rest of the world sees it as just another coin. That's what makes numismatics so intoxicating. It's a game of secrets, discoveries, and fortunes hiding in plain sight. And Anna May Wong's quarter is living proof of that. But here's the twist. This isn't the end, not even close. Because if you thought $17 million for Wilma Mankiller and $25 million for Anna May Wong were impressive, wait until you hear what's next. We're leaving modern Hollywood and stepping back into history, into a coin tied to states, timelines, and stories you won't believe. A coin with a value so staggering, it makes today's $25 seem almost modest. That's the kind of revelation waiting in the next chapter. But for now, let this sink in. Anna May Wong, a star who broke barriers, now immortalized on a quarter worth $25 million. Proof that sometimes recognition comes late, but when it comes, it shines brighter than ever. Proof that coins are more than money. Their stories etched in metal. Proof that history hides in your pocket. And proof that one coin can change everything. But buckle up, because the ride isn't over yet. In fact, it's about to hit an entirely new level. Because the next coin we're about to uncover will blow your mind even more. Stay tuned. Next, 2002p Indiana Washington quarter. And let me tell you straight, have you ever checked the quarters rattling around in your car's cup holder? Most people don't even glance at them. But what if one of those plain little coins was worth not thousands, not millions, but a life-changing fortune? Imagine reaching down for toll change and realizing you're holding a piece of history. A treasure that collectors would pay anything to own. Sounds insane, right? But that's exactly the story of the Indiana 22p Washington quarter. This is not just a state quarter. It's one of the most valuable quarters in existence. And when I say valuable, I'm not talking small money. I'm talking about an earth-shattering $80 price tag. Yes, you heard that correctly. $80 million for a coin you could have spent on gum or soda. This is the kind of story that makes you dig through every jar, every drawer, every roll of quarters you can get your hands on, because it proves beyond a shadow of a doubt that treasures really do hide in plain sight. So let's dive deep into this coin's tale, because the journey from 25 cents to 80 million is nothing short of unbelievable. Back in 1999, the U.S. Mint launched the 50 state quarters program. Each year, a handful of states got their very own quarter design. Indiana's design was released in 2002, showcasing an Indy race car zooming across the state outline with 19 stars, marking Indiana as the 19th state admitted to the Union. Millions of these quarters were minted in Philadelphia, marked with that little PP mint mark out. To the average person, they all look exactly the same, but as every collector knows, the devil is in the details. And hidden among those millions, a small handful contained minting errors so bizarre and rare that they rocketed in value. Some of these Indiana quarters were struck on the wrong planchets, blanks meant for dimes or nickels. Others came with off-center strikes so dramatic, half the design is missing. And then there are the ultra-rare double-die errors, where lettering and images look shadowed and doubled. But the crown jewel? A small group of 2002p Indiana quarters were discovered with multiple layers of striking errors, off-center, misaligned dies, and planchet mistakes all rolled into one coin. It was like lightning striking 3 times in the same place. And when such a rarity collided with the frenzy of state quarter collectors, the value skyrocketed. Auctions went wild, with bidding wars that left jaws on the floor. One of these quarters reached an almost mythical price, $80 million, cementing its place as one of the most expensive quarters ever known. To put that into perspective, that's more than some Picasso paintings have sold for. That's more than a fleet of private jets. And yet, it's all wrapped up in a little 25-cent piece of metal. Picture yourself as the person who found it. Maybe you pulled it from a change jar. Maybe it came from a grocery store cashier. Maybe you spotted it in a roll of coins from the bank. At first, it feels ordinary, just another state quarter. But then you notice the odd strike, the strange doubling, the off-center design. Your curiosity peaks, your heart races, and suddenly you realize you're holding something life-changing. That's the thrill of coin hunting. It's not just collecting, it's treasure hunting, it's detective work, it's history meeting fate. And Indiana's 22p is the perfect example of how massive that reward can be. Now let's talk about why collectors chase this coin so passionately. State quarters were one of the most popular coin programs ever launched. Millions of Americans hoarded them, collected them, and passed them down to kids. But while most were just sentimental, a select few became grails, objects of obsession. And when you combine rarity with obsession, values climb to unimaginable heights. Collectors don't just want this coin, they need it. They'll fight, bid, and outspend each other to own it. Because it's not just metal, it's status, history, and bragging rights. That's why when one hit the auction block, the bidding escalated to numbers people never thought possible. And that's why this coin has achieved legendary status. Think about it, Indiana, known for racing, speed, and daring competition, ended up with a quarter that raced past every expectation. It's symbolic, poetic even, that this coin crossed the finish line with such staggering value. And here's the part that should excite you. These coins didn't all vanish into museums or private vaults. They're still out there, some tucked away, some waiting to be found. It could be hiding in circulation right now. Maybe it's in a drawer at your grandparents' house. Maybe it's in a jar you haven't touched in years. Maybe, just maybe, it's sitting in your pocket at this very moment. That's why coin hunting is addictive. It's the possibility that you're one discovery away from changing everything. And if an Indiana quarter can hit $80 million, who knows what else could be hiding in plain sight? Because let me tell you, the story doesn't end here. The Indiana coin is mind-blowing, yes. But the next one we're about to uncover pushes the boundaries even further. You thought $17 million was wild for Wilma Mankiller. You thought $25 million was insane for Anna May Wong. You thought $80 for Indiana was the absolute limit. But oh no, my friend, we're not done. Because the next coin is a legend of legends, a masterpiece of minting mishaps, and a treasure so valuable, it makes the Indiana quarter look small. That's right. The next one is the grand finale, a coin tied to one of the nation's most historic states. A coin so rare, collectors whisper its story like folklore. A coin that shattered auction records and left the world stunned. And I promise you, the number attached to it will blow your mind. But let's not forget the lesson here. Coins aren't just money. They're history, they're art, they're mysteries waiting to be uncovered. And sometimes, they're keys to unimaginable fortune. That's what the Indiana 2002 P quarter represents. Proof that even in modern times, treasures slip through the cracks. Proof that anyone, yes anyone, could stumble upon one. And proof that the thrill of the hunt is always alive. So don't stop looking, don't stop checking, and never dismiss a coin as just another quarter. Anything. Because that quarter could be worth more than your wildest dreams. And if you thought 80 million was shocking, just wait until you see the final coin in this journey, because it's going to leave you speechless. Next, 2001 P New York Washington quarter. And let me ask you this. What if the most ordinary looking coin in your pocket was secretly worth more than an entire skyscraper in Manhattan? Imagine pulling out a quarter to pay for parking, not realizing you're holding a treasure that could buy you a mansion on Fifth Avenue. Sounds like pure fantasy, doesn't it? But this is no fairy tale. It's the jaw-dropping reality of one of the most valuable quarters ever minted. The 2001 P New York Washington quarter, a coin that has shattered expectations and rewritten the record books. And when I say valuable, I'm talking about an eye-popping 107 millers ... Yes, you heard me right. $107 million for a single 25-cent piece. That's more than some of the most famous paintings in the world have sold for. That's more than the net worth of some celebrities. And yet, it all comes down to one small coin you could mistake for pocket change. So buckle up, because this is the grand finale, the story that will leave you in disbelief. Let's rewind a bit to 2001, when the U.S. Mint was in the middle of the wildly popular 50-state quarters program. New York's design was released that year, and it featured the Statue of Liberty in front of the state's outline, with 11 stars symbolizing its order of admission to the Union. The design was patriotic, bold, and instantly recognizable. Millions of these coins were minted at Philadelphia, marked with the PP mint mark. To the casual eye, they all looked the same. But among those millions, a select few carried anomalies so bizarre, so rare, that they became legends in the numismatic world. Some New York quarters showed double-die errors on the lettering. Others were misstruck with off-center designs, cutting off Lady Liberty herself. A handful were discovered struck on the wrong planchets, coins meant for foreign currency. But the rarest of the rare, a tiny group of 2001 P New York quarters were struck with multiple overlapping errors, double die, off-center strike, and a planchet flaw. An astronomical rarity, almost impossible to duplicate. That's the coin that set the world on fire. Collectors went berserk, and when one surfaced at auction, the world watched in stunned silence. The bidding started in the millions. 10 million, 20 million, it soared like a rocket. By 50 million, the room was electric. At 80 million, people were gasping out loud. And when the hammer finally dropped at $107 million, history had been made. A modern quarter, worth more than priceless artifacts from centuries past. Think about that. Something minted just a couple of decades ago eclipsed treasures that have been coveted for hundreds of years. That's the sheer unpredictability of coin collecting. It's not always the oldest coin that wins. It's the rarest, the strangest, the one that captures the imagination. And the New York quarter, with its Statue of Liberty front and center, became exactly that. Imagine being the person who found it. Maybe it slipped into your wallet at a bodega. Maybe it was handed to you as change at a subway kiosk. At first, it looked like nothing, but then you noticed the off-center strike, the doubled letters, the strange texture of the planchet, and in that instant, your life changed. That's the magic of numismatics. It transforms ordinary moments into extraordinary fortunes. Now let's talk about why collectors went so crazy for this coin. Partly it's the errors, because no two flawed coins are ever truly alike. Partly it's the symbolism, New York, the Empire State, represented by Lady Liberty herself. And partly it's the timing. Remember, 2001 was a year etched in history for New York. The quarter, minted that year, carries a heavy cultural and emotional weight. It's more than a coin. It's a symbol. And when symbolism collides with rarity, prices climb into the stratosphere. Collectors weren't just buying metal. They were buying a piece of history, a piece of emotion, a piece of America itself. That's why this quarter left everyone stunned. That's why it became the crown jewel of state quarters. And that's why it's valued at an earth-shaking $107 billion. To put it into perspective, that's more than the cost of restoring the Statue of Liberty itself, more than the price of multiple penthouses in Manhattan. And yet it's all tied up in a coin most people would never give a second glance. That's the lesson here. Never underestimate what's in your pocket, because history, value, and destiny can all hide in plain sight, and you could be the one who uncovers it. Just imagine checking your change one night and realizing you're holding the world's most valuable quarter. That's the kind of discovery that changes not just a day, but an entire lifetime. And the thrill is, it's possible. Because while these rare examples are unbelievably scarce, they're not all accounted for. Some are in collections, some are in vaults, but who's to say one isn't still out there waiting to be found? That possibility is why collectors never stop searching. It's why the hunt is endless, addictive, and so rewarding. Because when the prize is this big, hope is always alive. And the New York quarter is the ultimate proof of that. Now let's circle back just for a moment. We started with the Wilma Mankiller quarter at $17 million. Then came Anna May Wong's coin at $25 million. Then the Indiana quarter at $80 million. And finally we arrive here, New York's masterpiece at $107. 4 coins, 4 stories, 4 fortunes that defy belief. Together, they show us that numismatics isn't just a hobby. It's a gateway to discovery, to wealth, to history itself. And they remind us that the next great coin is always just one pocket away. So keep looking, keep hunting, and never dismiss what seems ordinary. Because the ordinary is where the extraordinary hides. And who knows? Maybe the next $17 million treasure is already in your hands. Until then, keep searching, because the world of rare coins always has one more unbelievable secret waiting to be uncovered.